Welcome back. Tonight we are going to be doing a full review and breakdown of the New Balance Fresh Foam X More version 4. Oh man, let me just start by saying that this is a maximally cushioned road shoe, and it does not lie. This is a max cushion shoe. I purchased this with my own money with the intention of putting a lot of miles on this, and specifically long run and for easy days. I gotta say, this definitely delivers. We will get right into it here, but let me just say that I'm actually very impressed with this shoe, and it was super duper comfortable. So let's jump right into the spec. Right into the upper. What we have here is a breathable engineered mesh. It is a single layer, and I gotta say, as far as the key feature, I will say, is the suppleness and also the breathability of the shoe. I was really impressed with the ventilation aspects of this shoe. I felt that even in the temperatures that I was running in, which was between 50s and 60s, that it did a very good job in offloading a lot of that heat, and my foot did not feel very warm or any of that, even after some of the bigger miles going into some of these longer runs that I've been doing. So very happy with that. Taking a look at the eyelet chain here. What's interesting about this is that you can kind of see, we'll get into the tongue here in a second, how the tongue connects here at the bottom, and then there's almost this like little indentation of the eyelet chain material from the upper as it comes together. But what I was happy with is, backstory, sometimes this material for me can come together and make contact and kind of, you know, act as like a little bit of a pucker. But that was not the case here. In fact, I was really happy that once the shoe was locked down, I do use the lock technique or the runner's knot here. I did not have any of that, and it did do a good job in laying across the foot. And then speaking of the tongue, this is a non-gusseted tongue, and I gotta say, it's about a moderate to max level cushion. It's not overly plush like some. I'm thinking of the Nike Invincible. There's not really a super soft amount of material here, but also it's not feeling very rigid or uncomfortable. Very happy with the tongue, and also it did not seem to slide around. And then one more thing, that there's almost like a laterality between the left and the right tongue of each shoe, where there's almost, I don't know if you can see, a little bit more material on the lateral side of the shoe right here. So I'm assuming that that might have been just some research and development from New Balance to kind of correct any, you know, sliding around of tongues that can happen for some runners. So good job there, New Balance. Moving on to the heel counter. Very stout heel counter. It's not moving or flexing really at all. Taking a look at the shape, it is kind of a little bit of a triangular shape, not different than the other shoes that I've tried recently here. Thinking about the Torin 6 from Ultra, kind of the same shape, and I see a lot of shoes are kind of doing this little Achilles tab here, which is very pleasant. There is quite a bit of padding here on the Achilles as it touches the back of my leg, and then moving into that heel pocket, that was actually quite deep, and then I felt very locked in, and I didn't have any heel slippage at all. And there's almost like a little bit of a bowl, you know, B-O-W-L, bowl look and feel to the insert of the shoe. So you actually kind of, you know, glide right in a very comfortable way. You don't feel that there's this huge separation or like seam or any of that stuff with the insert of the shoe. And then thinking about the laces, there's nothing super fancy about the laces. You know, they don't stretch a whole lot. They're not overly plush or too thin. They work very well with that tongue, which again is quite plush. For the New Balance More version 4, and it's got like a nice little arch to it. You know, I don't really put a whole lot as far as arch support and rigidity. I don't expect a whole lot, since it's really kind of designed to, if you were to require an arch support or insert, that these guys can be taken out. You can put your custom insert in, but I will say that you can expect on my channel that I will be pulling inserts out and just taking a look, because I feel that it does give an overall feel as far as the comfort of the shoe, and also I like to take a look underneath to see what the build quality is. And taking a look at the inside of the shoe, you know, it looks very well made and decent build quality here of the shoe. So good job, New Balance. And also I'm noticing a lot on shoes these days that there's almost like a medial and lateral wall to the midsole as it communicates to the upper, and then probably provides a little bit of that stability within the shoe, side to side motion. And taking a feel of this shoe here, yeah, there's it's very smooth and a easy angle, and it's not a sharp feeling at all to my hand from the sidewall here to kind of where it's communicating to the inside on the medial aspect of the shoe, and then moving over here to the lateral. It's not quite as high, but again, it's very smooth to the feel. And I will say that when I was running in the shoe, I did feel very within the midsole, not lying on top of the midsole. And that just kind of goes along with what we're seeing there. So again, good job, New Balance. And then one more thing about the New Balance here, I will speak to the width of the toe box. I feel like it was a very nice, roomy toe box. My toes did not feel scrunched up, but at the same time, they didn't feel like they're, you know, moving around a whole lot. And then take a look at this toe cap. That is a very stout toe cap for a road shoe that is designed for easy miles. I would almost consider, if there's any walkers out there, you know, power walkers, mile walkers listening to this channel, that you might want to consider this because that's a very nice, well protected, built up toe box for the New Balance here. So good job there, New Balance. I would definitely think about, you know, some of the aggressive walkers that out there, and you know what I'm talking about. They're moving and grooving, so good job, New Balance there. All right, moving on to that midsole. Here we have the Fresh Foam X, and just kind of getting my fingers into it, and oh yes, this is plush, this is marshmallow, this is, you know, just very velvety and just nice. And I will say that, you know, even just my first steps in the shoe and lacing up and taking my first couple of strides in the shoe with the runs that I've been doing, it's a very plush, pleasant, luxurious ride, and then you almost forget about the shoe underneath your foot because it's just so darn plush. But speaking of exactly what this shoe is designed to do, it's designed for long miles. That is very, very plush, very forgiving. I don't think that they had speed work or tempo work or any of that stuff in mind when building the shoe. They were looking for a nice, protective shoe that is designed to go for easy days, longer distances, and I think that they definitely delivered. So we're looking at 38 in the heel and then 34 in the forefoot for a 4mm drop of this Fresh Foam X here. And then thinking about the weight of the shoe, that's going to be 10.9 ounces in a men's size 9. I wear a size 11 and I don't have a scale, and it does not feel like the lightest shoe ever. It really does not. But I don't think that they were going for a super duper light shoe that is designed to be tactical and super speedy. Again, it's just kind of a workhorse that's designed to go the distance for several miles. But again, it felt like it disappeared underfoot as I was really going out there and moving along for some of those big miles. Here's a nice little indentation here that probably speaks to just, you know, any heel strikers out there for the midsole. And then moving on to the outsole of the shoe, I really appreciate what New Balance has done here, and what I'm seeing is a lot of grooves that transmit from the outsole into the midsole and just kind of make a good attempt at decreasing the weight, but at the same time there's some nice flexibility in this otherwise stiff midsole, giving the stack height. So it definitely felt nice as far as the toe off and just kind of the gait cycle, but at the same time I wasn't feeling like it was really bending my foot a whole lot, which is expected in a shoe like this. There's a nice little decoupled groove here. It's not too overly aggressive, and you can almost see that there's some flexibility of the outsole into the midsole as it transmits from the forefoot off as you spring away for those long miles. And then taking a look at the outsole of the shoe and just kind of that rocker sole that you see in a lot of shoes these days. The New Balance here is no exception. It's not an overly aggressive rocker, but it definitely gives that nice forward geometry. And again, I didn't feel like it was propelling me forward or anything like that. I felt that it was very forgiving as far as the gait cycle goes, and it just wanted to continue to go once the run was pretty much keyed in as far as the pace goes. So pretty happy with that. And as far as traction goes, I didn't have any issues with that. I didn't run in any extremely slippery or wet environments, so I cannot speak to how this performs in the rain. But I mean, there's a decent amount of traction. There's a decent amount of rubber. I'm assuming that we're not going super duper fast in the shoe, so I would not feel uncomfortable running in the wet conditions with this shoe. And having said that, I also don't know how this upper is going to absorb a whole lot of sweat and a whole lot of moisture and a whole lot of rain. And some shoes that I've had, they can get quite heavy in those wet conditions. And again, like I said, I don't know how this would perform, but this might not be the lightest shoe in the world once it gets wet. And lastly, on the outsole here, I do feel like it's a nice, wide, safe platform. I did not feel unstable out there at all. And I do have a tendency to supinate or land on the outside of my foot. I almost feel that given how soft the midsole is, that there would be a high chance of this midsole breaking down, probably a bit premature for my purposes and for my particular gait cycle. In fact, I don't know if you can see it, there's already starting to be some creasing in the forefoot, and I know specifically that I almost always on both of my feet land on the outside here. In fact, you can already see some wear and tear of the rubber here on the far lateral corner of the shoe. So as far as durability goes, I'm not sure that this would hold up for hundreds of miles, but that's to be determined here in the future. So overall, my final thoughts for the shoe, I am very impressed, and this is gonna work as expected for those longer distances, having a ton of forgiveness and being super gentle on the knees, on the joints, on the body for some big training blocks coming up. Again, this is not a go fast shoe. This is a nice set your pace for long distances and just cruise type shoe. All right, well, there you have it for the New Balance Fresh Foam X More version 4. Hopefully you found this review helpful, and if you don't mind just considering liking and subscribing to the channel, I really appreciate it, and I hope this finds you well. Thanks for watching.